Hi guys, this is Sensho, and today we're going to be looking at my favorite method to chop up a sample using Simpler in Ableton. I'm going to show you how it works each step of the way as I make a beat out of a raw sample. I love Simpler because you can pump out ideas really fast, you don't need any special gear to get started, and it'll give you a whole new creative outlet if you don't sample a whole lot. Just in case you don't know, Simpler is a sampler that's included in versions of Ableton 9 and above, I believe, and in this video today we're going to be using Ableton 11. This video is not going to cover each and every component of the sampler, just the most important ones that are relevant to this basic workflow. So to start with, we've got a sample from Splice ready to go on an audio track, and it sounds something like this. By the way, if you're looking to find out what the best resources are for finding samples to use in your commercially released beats, check out our other video on that, which will be linked in the description down below. We also have a blank MIDI track with Simpler on it inside of a group called Samplers, and if you want to know how to make a group, just highlight the track that you want to be in a group and just press Command G. I did say earlier that you don't need any special gear to get started with this, so if that's the case for you, just make sure that computer MIDI keyboard is on by pressing M. You'll know that it's active when the button is lit up. Today we're going to be working at 90 beats per minute because it's a very classic tempo for sampled beats, but also I think it sits at a nice medium to keep things upbeat. It kind of allows you to speed up slower samples or slow down faster ones. Those are really the only crucial parts of the setup. Everything else is part of my own personal template. So the next thing we're going to do is drag the audio into our blank MIDI track inside of our group called Samplers, and then a new sampler track will automatically be created. Now that we've got the sample inside of Simpler, let's select the Slice tab, and this basically tells Ableton you want the audio to be divided into chunks or slices of audio and mapped onto different keys on your keyboard. This allows you essentially to play in sections of the sample like you would notes on a piano, and by default the first slice starts at C1, 2 octaves below middle C. If you want to change octaves on your computer keyboard, just hit Z to go down octaves and X to go up octaves. And this is kind of where the readout is to tell you what octave range you're in. However, I am going to play mine on my MIDI keyboard. I bet you didn't know that was under there. So we know the tempo of the sample already because we downloaded it from Splice and it already just gives you all that information. So let's select the slice by beat function, which basically divides the slices based on the linked tempo of the material. If you double click on the sample, then you can see what Ableton calculated the linked tempo to be, which here is 67 and is the same thing as 134 for our purposes. If you do notice that the Ableton tempo is incorrect, then you just have to manually enter the BPM on this screen or add in the warp points by hand. We've actually got a video to help you figure out how to lock in the tempo of a sample, and that will also be linked in the description below. By default, the warp mode will be on complex, which means Ableton will just adjust the speed of the sample to match your global tempo, but maintain the pitch. For this beat, I'm going to change the warp mode to repitch, which makes the pitch proportional to the tempo change. And since the linked BPM of the sample is 67, it'll raise the pitch of the sample when I play the slices. So here comes the fun part. Sometimes I'll start with the drums, but today let's let the metronome roll and just explore some different ideas with different chops. I like it, but I just want to add like a little variation here. So what I usually do is select the track with Simpler on it and then use Command D to duplicate it, arm the new track, and then record a new layer of chops on top of what I already have. Now, I could record more MIDI notes on top of what I have here already, but I actually prefer to add a brand new sampler each time I want to add something because it helps me stay organized, it's easier to edit, and I can add in effects on each sampler if I want to, which gives me a little more creative flexibility. Now, come to think of it, I actually have some tracks that have like 15 samplers layered on top of one another, all contributing different chops to the beat. So feel free to go crazy with this, you know, CPU permitting. Okay, so now that we've got the chops laid down, I'm just gonna add some drums and bass and get a little beat together. So let's take a listen to what we ended up with here. Something I don't hear people talk about a lot is that making music you like is often a numbers game. Like the more music that you make, the better chance you have of making something good. And the more that you learn from the music that you made that you didn't like. Whether or not you're new to sampling, the nature of this method allows you to explore a lot of musical ideas quickly and in an unconventional way to spark new ideas and make interesting beats. If you guys liked this video, check out the playlist we put together that's all about the sampling process and a lot more. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next one.